Happy Friday. It's time for Fitness Friday Live. Yes, different location. As you log on from wherever you're viewing in the world, I'm Liezel. Welcome to Fitness Friday Live. And this time we're in a live location on the set of Five Color Fitness. It's airing on the 14th of December on Supersport. And we are actually filming on set some of the episodes at Benguela Cove in Hermanus. And we're live from set, so you'll probably see some of the guys in the background. That's the view from the room where I'm shooting and the view of Benguela Cove. And it's only fitting that we've got the ocean as a view, because our guest today is an ocean lover who I happened to hear about while I was in Hermanus a couple of months ago. And I'm so excited. We're going to be talking everything about ocean, free diving, diving, scuba. We're going to talk about a plant-based lifestyle. We're going to answer your fitness and health-related questions. So please feel free to log in from wherever you're viewing. Put your comments in the comment section below. Say hi and let me know where you're watching from. We're live on YouTube and Facebook today. And don't be scared to ask a fitness-related question. If you're struggling with something when it comes to your health and fitness, even though our guest is all about the ocean, all about scuba and a plant-based lifestyle, it might be a relevant question for our guest to answer today. So please feel free to reach out to us. Post your comments in the comment section down below. It is Fitness Friday Live. And if you're just tuning in, our guest is an ocean lover, a free diver, who's quite advanced in her scuba diving qualification, and is just a general love for the ocean. Our guest will be joining us live as you just tune in from wherever you're watching in the world. I just want to say I'm excited to have you viewing us live. And if you've just tuned in, we're in Hermanus at Benguela Cove on the set of Five Color Fitness. It's a fitness show that's on Supersport. You can catch it on Showmax. And we're busy filming the new season 3, a show that started in lockdown. And it's now already on season 3 to keep you healthy, keep you active, and keep you moving. Post your comments in the comment section down below as I introduce you to our guest today, Zandile. Welcome to Fitness Friday Live.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to have you, and I'm really excited we're in Hermanus, because this is where I first got introduced to who you are. While I was with the team from Marine Dynamics, they said, look at the Black Mermaid on Instagram. You have to give her a follow. And who knew, a month later, I'd be chatting to you live on Fitness Friday Live.
I love that so much, because when I met the Marine Dynamics team, they were just all so beautiful. I love what they do. I love what they're about. And you know how it is about the whole narrative around sharks, and actually deciding to go with them was such an intentional thing for me, just because of what they do for the community as well and the conservation aspect. So it's a win.
Tell us a bit more, because you and I have a love for sharks, and we know what Marine Dynamics does, but there's a lot of viewers who are petrified of sharks, have no idea who Marine Dynamics is. So give us a little bit of a background about your relationship with them.
So I love sharks. I'm a lover of like big things in the ocean. I'm that human. It's horrible. It's actually like horribly great. But I love sharks, and my every single experience with sharks, they are the most gentle creatures, right? They are gentle and wild. And every single time you encounter them, they might be curious, but most of the time they're just minding their own business, like, hey, hey homie, what's up? And like, hey homie, what's up? Because you're either free diving or you're scuba diving. And then there's spaces where there's into shark cage diving, because people are afraid of, whether they remember the Jaws movie, or the many things that people attach to sharks. So then there's the caged aspect. And for me, I've always kind of freaked out at that, because it continues the narrative of the sharks being like these animals that are coming to like eat humans, which is untrue. And I just, in deciding to go shark cage diving with Marine Dynamics, there was two things, what are they doing in the communities, but also two, which was the second aspect for me, the idea that anybody and everybody will have the opportunity to meet sharks in their natural environment is already such a privileged state. It requires means to actually always be able to encounter sharks in their natural environment. So sometimes you do have, you need the conservation agencies like Marine Dynamics that make the encounter accessible. And in that first encounter, you look at how beautiful they are, and you see how gentle they are, and that's how people start to care. You know, and I think this is so important in our conservation efforts. What does it mean for us to move it from being this elitist thing to something that is accessible to everybody? And someone comes home and tells a story of this gorgeous shark that they saw, and they start to protect it. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I'm sure there's viewers going, guys, what are you talking about? Sharks. We've seen we've seen the shark spotters in Cape Town putting off the sirens. We've seen the results in Australia because they've got a number of shark attacks. How did you actually fall in love with the ocean?
So I used to mountain bike, and I often tell the story that it all started in the mountains. I was at Sani to sea, and I heard the ocean, and someone says, what does that even mean? I'm like, I don't even know. I just knew that she was ready. And in 2016, like going through the most, I decide, this is the little amount that I have in my bank account. I call up the travel agency, take me away, 2 weeks minimum. I need out of here. And in this little, I need out of here, I'm riding down to breakfast in Bali and Gili Trawangan. And I hear this guy saying, snorkel trip, snorkel trip. And I mean, I'd always wanted to go snorkeling. So I take it up. I did not know how to snorkel. I did not know how to use the little snorkel thing. It was just a whole thing. So anyway, I sign up, and as the skipper says, everybody kit up, we're gonna jump out. This is me like eyeing everybody, what's everybody doing, and trying to do the same. And this chick sitting right opposite me says, have you ever been snorkeling? I'm like, and she's like, why didn't you say anything? I was like, I was gonna figure it out. And she's like, you breathe in and out through your snorkel. And thank God she told me, because had she not, my little jump out onto the water that went on to be like, I'm drowning, oh my God, I'm drowning, would have been even worse. So anyway, I jump into the water, and this is me, I'm drowning. And this chick, another chick, turns around and she says, it's physically impossible. Physically impossible. And I'm like, did you not hear me say I'm drowning? Anyway, so I stop, so I stop freaking out, and my brain is like, can you stop being dramatic? Like, who are you? Like, you know how to swim, what's your issue? So anyway, I stop being dramatic, and I go on and I start looking. This is my first time looking under the surface of the water. And it was just so perfect. And obviously it's just trying to figure out what the dive master is doing. He's diving in, going to the bottom of the ocean, picking up shells, showing everyone everything. We jump back on the boat, and obviously everyone's looking at me like dramatic, you know, probably even dramatic black chick, a dramatic chick over there. And we get to the second dive spot, we jump out, and the dive master dives in, and I dive in behind him, and I'm collecting shells with him. And all of a sudden, I'm home like I have never been home in my life. Everything changes, like a moment that says, this is it. You're home. Wow. That was it. That was it. And then I come back into the country, and I'm like, how do I go back to that? Where is that? Scuba diving, of course. Discover open water, advanced, all the specialities. And then I come across this video of these 3 chicks on Instagram, and they dive in and they're swimming along the reef. No tanks. No tanks on their backs. Like, what fresh witchery is this? What's going on? And like, what the hell is going on? And I go on to Google, and I realize that that's freediving, and I follow that passion. And the first time I'm in the water doing my freediving course, it was more of that home feeling, and I knew I wanted to go the whole way. It was different to scuba. You know, scuba I've always just enjoyed leisurely, but all of a sudden, this was different. I wanted to tell everybody who would listen. I wanted to teach everybody who would learn. I wanted to take it to the world, and I think that was the difference.
Now, I'm a diver. My dream is to be a free diver, but just explain the difference between scuba and free diving for someone that has no idea what we're talking about.
So in scuba diving, your air source is a cylinder that has air in it, so you can pretty much jump into the water and you can breathe, right? So you're breathing the whole time, and you're looking at morays, and you're looking at sharks, and you're looking at the reefs, and you have time to just explore on this massive cylinder of air. And with freediving, your air source is your lungs. So with freediving, you just take a beautiful big breath and you dive in and you go and explore on one breath, and you come back up and you exhale and you relive the magic and you recover and then you go back in. So I often say in scuba diving, you've got time to look outside. And in freediving, you look inside. You know, you've got an eternity that is a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, just depends on your level of fitness in the sport. But essentially, you get to travel on one breath in the ocean.
How do you prep yourself to go for one breath and hold your breath and go down? I mean, what is the depths you're going, first of all? And how long can you hold your breath for? And how do you train for something like that?
So I can hold my breath for over 4 minutes at the moment. And I'm looking to get it to 5 minutes. It's important. It's an interesting thing, right? Everyone kind of thinks that freediving is about the water. But I feel like freediving is largely about the breath. So you start your freediving by understanding your breath, understanding the power of your breath. What are the currencies when it comes to freediving? Your ability to relax. That's the only currency. You know, if you are able to just be present and just be calm, your breath can go from, like, you know, the minute when you get the urge to breathe, I must breathe. You probably have like a minute, 2 minutes inside of you. So it's a question of, like, what does it mean to keep calm? And travel in the beauty of this place where something that has always been an automated function of your body, all of a sudden there's like new control on it. What does that mean?
You make it sound so calm and so peaceful. I can't even hold my breath underwater for half the length of the pool. And yeah, you're just telling me it's so easy, and it's just about being in control. Was it that easy for you when you did it the first time, or did you have the sense of panic?
So this is a weird thing. So I've always like been able to hold my breath. And I mean, I remember when we went back to Bali in 2017, and we were in the pool place, and I said, I want to hold my breath, somebody count. And so then I duck into the pool and I hold onto the ankles of like a human, and I just kind of, you know, travel away and whatever. And towards the end of it, everyone was freaking out, and I was under there for 2 minutes. So as they like pull me out, they're like, what the hell is going on? Are you okay? I'm like, I've been okay, yo. And this was not even me having learned about, you know, holding your breath and freediving and all of that stuff. It's just always been a comfortable place. So the first time I ducked in, it was probably my biggest challenge was equalizing. So in scuba diving, you can kind of swallow your way down, right? Swallow, and that helps to equalize your ears. Some people grab their nose, and I always felt like the nose aspect just felt violent. So I was just like, I'm not into that. And in freediving, so doing my beginner course was not as difficult. I wouldn't say it was as difficult. I don't know. It was, you know, learning to be present is probably the biggest thing, because we always are like, I want to get to 10 meters. I want to get to 30 meters. I want to get to 40 meters. But what happens if you're in the present in your travel? Because there you have an eternity ahead of you, right? And if you're present with the line and you're present with your body, then at any point you just, you know, right? As your body's like, I must breathe and I must breathe now. You're like, it's all right. I got you. We got this. So I want to say, like, my first level of freediving wasn't as difficult. I think it became rather more difficult after I'd reached 23 meters and I was looking to get to 32 meters, and I was just battling with that. And then all of a sudden I had to, again, it was my mind, right? My whole life I'd always been able to plan to precision. Like I can plan for you. I know that, you know, even with mountain biking, I want to go ride the Epic. If I do this amount of work, I will peak in time for, regardless of what happens. Freediving is not that. You cannot plan for it to the T. And it was me giving up, you know, one of the things that I hold most valuable, my ability, my control. I love to be in control. Yeah. I'm a control freak. And I had to give that to the ocean in order for her to let me in. And whether I was diving with my eyes open, eyes closed, I could not get past the 23 meter mark. And at a point, I took off my dive computer. I stopped diving on the line. I stopped wanting to, this is where I'm going, this is where I'm going. And I started to travel with her. I learned the water. I learned what it means to be with her and see her. And just along that way, 3 months later, I was diving down to a beautiful 26, 27. And a little bit later, I was at 32.5. A little bit later, I was at 34. And now I'm just like, what does it mean to be present with her and be true, right? And everyone always says, what does that mean? And I say, she asks you many questions when you lay on the surface of the water. And if you're not true, you're not going anywhere. You will dive your 5-10 meters when you can dive 30 easily. She will not let you in past 10 because you're not being true. So it's a beautiful place.
It's so true and so beautiful the way you describe it. But I'm just imagining, because I've scubaed to 40 meters. That's the max I've done with the scuba and the tank. You've got this without a tank. How do you equalize when you go back? Because, I mean, we've got to do safety stops of 6 minutes because of the tank and because of the air in the tank. How do you get back up so quickly and make sure you've still got enough breath?
So the difference between scuba diving and free diving is that we don't have like stops. And our ascent rate is way quicker than a scuba ascent rate. But again, it's because when we descend with one set amount of lungs. So unlike in scuba, your lungs stay the same size. You're breathing in and out the whole time and as you go into depth. Whereas in freediving, you have one set volume that becomes small, and then as you come up, it becomes big again. And there's no deep movement of gas bubbles into cells. And maybe even if there is, you don't need, there's no external air source. So you're able to just get yourself back up without needing to stop for like at the 6 meter depth. Our descent, and that's why they always say you don't take a breath from anyone from scuba. So even if you're about to swallow the sea, swallow the sea. Swallow the sea. You'll be all right. But yeah, so like if don't take a breath from scuba ever.
That's unbelievable. I'm sitting here and I'm mind blown. I have so many questions, but I've got a comment coming through from Kelly Marie saying she still wants to scuba. Kelly Marie, sorry, he says he still wants to scuba dive. What's holding you back? Please, we've got to ask questions to our guest. A lot of people say they want to do it and they never get around to doing it. What advice do you have for people that say, I still want to do it, I still want to do it?
You have to do it. So if you can just picture, like the most magical thing is being able to breathe underwater. Like that still blows my mind. Like I've been scuba diving for years now, and I still can't fathom that we've got tools and you can go and explore underwater and you're just breathing the whole time. That's mind blowing. So do it. Do it. There's a lot of people who say they battle with equalizing. Practice it and it will be okay. And I think the biggest thing, it's not a forceful act. It's just a nice, easy blowout. Many people kind of figure that you need to blow. No, your ears know. They know when you're on the water, your whole body knows what needs to happen. So just a nice, easy exhale and you'll be good.
That's some great advice. Another question coming through. This happened to me in the water on a dive at about 24 meters. I got a cramp. And this is a question coming through. What happens when you get a leg cramp while diving?
That's an interesting question. I've never really gotten a cramp, but I figure that if you, because obviously you're good, right? You've got a tank, you've got time, unlike in freediving. Okay, so in scuba, I would think the best way would be, look at me like holding up my foot. So just pull up, I can't see. Just pull up, just hold your fin up and just see if you can't help yourself get movement into that space. But if you just relax for a bit and just check that your finning is proper, but also, hold on, the cramping as well, make sure that you stretch before you go into the water. So I have found specifically with freediving that I always have to circle out my ankle. So just hold on, let's see. This is probably like inappropriate, but just do an exercise like that where you are working your ankle and you just rotating it, and you rotate it so that you work this muscle here, because we're not used to wearing these longer fins. So just nicely open that up, and you should be good. Just because it gives you range of motion that is not normal range of motion. And if you're free diving,
when it comes to scuba and free diving,
there's a lot of breath work. So I do a lot of breath work in the morning in bed, and that's probably the largest part. But like other people do really intense things like run 20 kilometers. I don't run 20 kilometers. I do a lot of strength training just because I enjoy strength training more than running. But lots of full breath. So that's my favorite thing to do. Just practicing the full breath, getting more and more comfortable with a bigger breath. So if you learn how to take a full breath, you'll realize that the bigger your breath gets, it comes to the back of your shoulders and it unclicks at the back of your neck, which is the most incredible thing, because I don't know how else you could actually unclick that part of your body. But as you learn how to fill up beautifully, you fill up your tummy, you fill up into your intercostals and into your chest, and that breath just comes up at the back here, and you just hear clicking, click, 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 and you know that you're in the good. And the more you practice that, you just get into this place of feeling and sitting with the discomfort of a really big breath. And before you know it, when you're laying on the surface of the ocean and you take that beautiful big breath and you become, this little balloon up top. And as you duck in, you know how to handle that big breath all the way to the bottom. It's the most beautiful thing. Is.
You make it sound so peaceful, so easy. Was it a struggle to get into it? Did you ever have those days where you really doubted yourself when it came to your free diving?
100%. I definitely had a time when I doubted myself when I was battling to get to the depth that I'd set for myself, and I kind of thought, what am I doing wrong? Is this not meant for me? But then, like with most things, the question always becomes, what's holding you back? What does it mean to be true with yourself? And when I sat with myself and I said, okay, Chiquita, we all know that you've got the breath hold. We all know that you can do it. But what's stopping you? And for me, it was sitting with the fear. What was the fear? I didn't know what happens after 23 meters. It gets really dark down there. There's the stories that we grow up with about what lives in the ocean. There's the part that says, what if I free fall past my ability to return and then I swallow the sea? What does it mean? So it was all of these what ifs that were always bigger than the physical present moment. And in my truth with myself was an opening, right? And I mean, there's always going to be that self-doubt, but the more you realize that all you have is the present, which became the thing, right? In getting to know her better. It was in real time that I could say, hi, I'm Zandi, I'm excited to be here. And then I go up to go and breathe, and then I come back and the whales are singing, and you're just mind blown by everything that's happening over there. And all of a sudden you go into this beautiful free fall. What happens in the free fall? Without effort, you just descend into the ocean depths, and all of a sudden, you go from being a part of this massive universe and you become the universe. You are not a body, you're just everything around you. You are the whale sounds, you are the ocean, you are the sound of the rope. And as you get to the bottom and your lanyard pulls you down, hey girl, what's up? You've arrived at your depth. And you just look around and you're like, my life. What? And you just grab that lanyard and then you start to feel your chest, right? Your chest is like, I want to breathe now. And you're kind of sitting there and you're like, and that's okay, right? And it's again the many lessons in freediving that you get to face the things that might make you uncomfortable. You face that discomfort. You don't make oh no, I'm not getting contractions. You actually welcome that discomfort. And as the contractions get bigger, I must breathe and I must breathe now, and you just lovingly hold on to them and you carry it to the top and you get to the top of the buoy and you exhale and just inside of you is just this immense joy, and you don't know, it's the most beautiful place.
You make it sound so incredible. I just want to go out there and try it. But it's definitely a sport and a fitness activity that you need to have some instruction? I can't just go and free dive in the ocean and think I can go to depths of 5 meters. What is the
100%.
stepping stones for someone like me or anyone that wants to follow in your footsteps?
So find yourself an instructor. This is always important. Just because you don't want to hurt or harm your body in any way. Of course, there are dangers when you go deeper, and your instructor is able to help you with that, be it if it's the protecting of your tympanic membrane in your ears or the protecting of your lungs as you descend, because the pressure gets more and more in your body. And I mean, you're at 3 times the pressure at 20 meters. So there's a lot going on. So your instructor is able to give you guidance on how to dive safely. Many people sometimes freak out about the idea of a blackout, but I've never come across anybody who's ever blacked out. But again, it goes back to instruction and doing it right. So I think that's the most important thing. Before you free dive, make sure that you've got the information, make sure that you understand the safety aspects. And the most important thing is learning the rescue process. And for me, the rescue procedure is the most important thing. If anybody's going to dive with me, I want to know that you know how to perform a rescue, because no one is above the ocean. Anything could happen. Yes. So what does it mean to have people around you who are able to act in a time when everyone else might be freaking out, saying, "Oh my God, what's happening over there?"
But that's with the ocean. I say this to anyone, even if you're just going to a beach day. Make sure that you go to, and the NSRI have those beautiful bright pink buoys on safety beaches that you should be swimming at. And I always say to everyone, watch what the current's doing, read the instructions. There's signboards above every single friendly beach that you go out to make sure that you know, is there a rip current? Are there buoys? Are there rescue buoys? Are there lifesavers on duty? And don't go swimming where there's no lifesavers, where there's none of those safety instructions. So it's about being safe in the water.
100%. And I think it's just the reminder that she is just like all of us. She's multifaceted. And in that moment, she could be a calm summer breeze and you're having a beautiful swim. She's behaving like a pool. And before you know it, something changes. And there's a current that's going out to sea. So it's always so important to be aware of your surroundings and always just have, I often say, anytime when you go out to sea, have your little point of reference for where you want to exit. And every single point, how far you are. Have little reference points. And again, always swim between the lifeguards normally have something up that says you can swim between these areas because we're able to keep watch over you. And I mean, at the end of the day, she is a living body. She's a wild creature, and it's important that we keep that in mind, regardless of how great a swimmer you are. We all know that you need to be safe first.
Absolutely. So you mentioned she's a beautiful creature and your love for the ocean. How important is ocean conservation to you?
It is the most important thing. So it's an interesting thing because I hold I always say I hold weird views about certain things. And I feel like, conservation in the greater sense has always been, I feel like in Black and brown communities, conservation has always been a big thing. And I'll speak specifically as a Black woman in my upbringing. The plastic, typical example, the plastic bag has always been respected. So the plastic bag comes home, and every single time you go to the shops, you take that same plastic bag. It has a shelf, it has a little drawer that it lives in. It's folded nicely, like clothes, they all live in there. And then when they are unable to be good plastic anymore, you can take a whole lot of them and get a mat made, a little plastic mat made. And I think for me, that just kind of goes back to how I've always, been taught. And so conservation, I think, is important. It's important that we protect these oceans, but I think it's important that we work with the communities who live around these oceans. And I'm often irked by certain spaces where it feels like the conservation comes from a helicopter effort, where someone comes down, tells the community how to be better with their own beaches without trying to figure out what the communities have been doing, because they are also experts in these waters and they have fished these waters for the last 20 years, and they could tell you what has changed in the different amount of fish that comes out every season. And I think it's important that we start to look at collaborative efforts in the conservation space to say, for me right now, many people will say, oh no, look, I've got this 2,000 rand bikini that's made of plastic. That is, for me, it feels largely elitist, and it assumes that the 1% can save the ocean, and you physically cannot. So what does it mean to go and rally as many people as you can to stand with you in whatever it is that you're trying to do? You know, when we talk about plastic pollution, how do we bring it back to the communities that live around those areas? Because how are they really affected if no one has looked underwater, seen dolphins, seen whales, seen fish? What does it mean to bring it back? Well, what would happen if the fish that ends up on your plate, let's say you have fish once a week, the nutrients are becoming less and less because the fish in the ocean are eating up this, you know, essentially the only protein source, let's say, you might have in that week is becoming lesser and lesser nutrient dense. What does that mean when we teach that to the kids, and we teach that, you know, what does it mean for us to be intentional around what we're using? What does it mean for us to go back to those 60 rand or 100 rand plastic mats where someone goes around and collects those mats, and the woman in the community make mats that everybody can put out on a rainy day, and, you know, everyone uses that before they go in? I almost feel like I think as South Africans, we have a responsibility to tailor our efforts to a South African people, because that's how we win. That's how we win. The idea that conservation sits over here when the rest of the people are down here doesn't make sense. We need the 50, 60% standing with and rallying for these beautiful oceans. You know, and I think it just kind of goes back to why I started the Black Mermaid Foundation, because it said, what does it mean, that first sight underwater? What? And you start to see these fish, and you start to see these incredible places, and all of a sudden you start to protect them, right? Even, you know, yeah. So I could actually like go on about the conservation space, but I think it also goes back to aquariums, where you get people who are like, oh my word, this is criminal. And it kind of stops and it says, what does it mean for us to have real and true ways that are meaningful for people to interact? If not everybody's going to have the opportunity to see these incredible animals in the natural environment, what's the most and closest and like not as expensive way that makes it accessible for people to actually see this moray, you know, open up its mouth and just be like a little bit of a freak. I love morays. And and I think it's important that we hold both ends and we say, okay, this aspect gives us access to multiple communities. And, you know, and I guess, you know, when you look at like the Cape Town aquariums, they are phenomenal. You know, I've asked more questions about how they take care of the animals. And someone actually said, they were like, the animals are actually taken better care of than most other things. Like everyone else can go fly kites. I'm like, that makes me feel happy. And I think it's important, you know, just kind of holding space. The role of aquariums, the role of communities, the role of scientists when they come in and write papers about, you know, what should be conserved and what should not be, and the fishing times, you know, how do the accessible fishing times affect the community? Because all of a sudden, people who have been catching their dinner from these oceans can't, because fishing time is 3 to 5 p.m. when everyone's at work. Are you kidding me? So I keep on getting these agitating spaces that feel like, did anyone go into the community and see how they could work with the communities versus moving people into a space where they become criminals because, you know, oh, I caught a fish for my family. Oh yeah, sorry, it's 5:05. What? You know, so, and I think it's important that we also protect the communities that live around these incredible oceans, and it is theirs as well, you know. Oh, I have like endless thoughts about conservation.
I love chatting to you, and I love chatting to you about it. And when we're talking about communities, Hans Spy comes to mind, the team from Marine Dynamics come to mind. That whole area is an example of how communities have been spoken with and communicated with, and certain things have been set up with the community in mind. And it's a perfect example. I mean, that area has walked away with numerous responsible tourism awards from an Africa level, not just in South Africa. And it shows that can be done.
100%. And I think, you know, in the good that we get right, we need to look at how we collaborate and replicate the good. right?
Yeah.
And then hold ourselves to a space that says, we could actually change that. And what does it mean to be a leader in the space that says we've diversified the space intentionally, we are reaching communities responsibly, and we're not trying to take the shortcut out? I often think about the sardine run. And I mean, the sardine run is biggest in the Transkei, and the Transkei is one of the most poorest places in South Africa. So what does it mean for all of these boats to be coming out from wherever it is they are, with the world here in a dollar currency, and yet the Transkei remains so poor? So what are we doing collectively to make those spaces accessible and protected? And the communities are also taken care of. It's not like, if only you have a boat, that kind of changes up your idea of, how do we share this beautiful ocean space that also belongs to these communities that live around them?
No, it's absolutely true. And there's so much more to be done. We're seeing some of these examples coming through, and you've mentioned a few. If people want to reach out to you, if people want to chat to you, if businesses are watching and they want to get you to come in and assist them, because you do diversity training, you do conservation training, how can people reach out to you?
So it is zandile.ndlovu@gmail.com. And on Instagram, it's ZAN_Ruffy Zan_Ruffy. But also, there we go, you can go onto my website. So www.blackmermaid.co.za, pop in an email, and I will be there. So Zandile, I'm definitely keen.
Yeah, we've got so much time to talk. I want to talk about so many more things. I'm going to have you back because there's so much we can still cover. You are incredible. Your love for the ocean and what you do is so infectious, and you've really inspired us here today. Thank you so much for joining us on Fitness Friday Live.
Thank you so much. That went by so quickly. Thank you so much.
I can't believe time just flew, and I look forward to following your adventures. If you're in Cape Town, we've got to go free diving or diving sometime soon.
Yes. Your kelp forests are the best. Oh my
word. They
are,
aren't they? I snorkel and I swim around them, but I've never actually dived or free dived around them. So I love the Western Cape's kelp forest. So we'll have to go on an adventure soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Everyone saying thank you. Karen saying thank you on Facebook, and Kelly Maria saying thank you so much to the Black Mermaid. Really great having you. Thanks, and have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you so much. Have a stunning one too.
Someone who absolutely loves the ocean. For those of you who just joined in and you missed Zandile's interview, or you want to find out more, visit her website, blackmermaid.co.za. An incredible woman, in the forefront when it comes to ocean conservation and connecting the communities with ocean conservation, and just the pure love and joy for the ocean. Incredible to chat to her. Her contact details are down below if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, and you can reach out to her. Here are her contact details again. And as I say every single Friday, enjoy your fitness journey. It's about just being out there, being active, and finding a space that you can be fit and active in. You don't have to necessarily be the fastest, the fittest. It's just about finding your space and your enjoyment when it comes to movement, when it comes to your activities, and go and have a fit, fun, fab weekend. I'll catch you again next Friday at noon South African time for another Fitness Friday Live. If you've got any fitness-related questions, you've got a possible guest you want to let me know about, to add to my Fitness Friday guest lineup, just email me, creative@thegiraffebrand.com. We'll chat again next Friday. Cheers.